What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Devi Debate. That is Felix Sharp pointing the wrong way. I am Matt Bruni. We've got a ton to talk to you guys about tonight. We got Miller Moss, who's the real reason that Malachi Nelson was run out of California. We're going to talk a little bit about Evan Stewart, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Felix and I will discuss a lot of the players that will be playing over the next couple days that we think could raise their stock heading into the 2024 season. Felix, I imagine you got your eyes on Connor Harrell, who I thought had an up and down game. He had some pretty good moments, but some bad ones. I don't know if you're watching Miller Moss torch Louisville right now. Mekhi Lemon having a breakout game. What have kind of been your thoughts so far today for the football games that have been going on?
Well, let's start with Miller Moss. First of all, Matt, I mean, you can verify this.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of months, I've said make sure that he is rostered. He was clearly the start or the backup behind Caleb Williams, and now we've got Malachi Nelson out of the picture. So as of this moment, Miller Moss is Lincoln Riley's starting quarterback. I thought at one point we always wanted to have Lincoln Riley's quarterback rostered. Now, is he going to go into 2024 as the starter? I have no idea. But you got 45-man rosters in campus to Canton leagues. Miller Moss should have been rostered. On the subject of Connor Harrell, 2 turnovers in this game, but I thought that he looked better than we've seen him in the spring games. We saw more of the mobility, which we don't get to see in the spring games. We saw him make some good throws. On the first turnover that was in the red zone, you get a better player. That would have been caught by the tight end there. I didn't see the other interception, but he showed more mobility than what I thought he had, and he made some good throws. People who don't know ball are going to criticize him for the 2 turnovers. They're going to look towards the box score, but he made some excellent throws in this game, including the touchdown pass to J.J. Jones in the corner of the end zone. If you listen to our content, Connor Harrell was already rostered, and I think despite the 2 turnovers, despite the score of the game, he showed all of the reasons why we thought you should go roster him. So that's what I think about Connor Harrell. I'm not paying attention to the 2 turnovers. Kind of the same thing with like Dante Moore. He flashed enough for me to say, yep, I should have him rostered. And Connor Harrell, again, going into 2024, looks to have – I don't know that UNC is going to bring in a transfer. I mean, none of the big-time quarterbacks that we've heard have been associated with UNC. I feel confident about him going into 2024, and if you have him rostered, you should feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, they brought in Max Johnson. Now, me and Chris Moxley were talking a little bit about this on Twitter. I wonder if they brought in Max Johnson to get his brother Jake Johnson, the tight end, because granted, like I said, I think he had an up and down game, but he had some pretty good moments in that game. And as you mentioned, he showed off that rushing ability, which we saw Drake may really bail out in that offense at times over the past 2 years. I think Connor Harrell can do the same thing. UNC will be fighting for a playoff spot next year. I personally think they'd be pretty dumb to go to Max Johnson. I don't mean
and he very clearly sprained his ankle in like the second quarter of this game, and he kept playing through it. He had to change his game just a little bit. I mean, I thought he showed more than enough I bet you we probably have him collectively as a top 50 quarterback, and that's where he should be, even though people, casual college football fans don't even know who that is.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because I would not be surprised if Mac Brown pulls another like coin flip, Max Johnson, Connor Hale starting the spring game like he did with Drake May and Jacoby Criswell. That was an interesting decision.
Just pure nonsense. Utter buffoonery.
We have hit halftime of USC Louisville, which I expected to be a closer game at this point. I really didn't know what we were going to see out of Miller Moss and this offense. And Louisville had a fairly highly ranked pass defense, 27th overall, the 20th ranked rushing defense. Well, they've got a pretty good defense. Miller Moss is currently sitting at 13 of 18 for 218 yards and 4 touchdowns, 13 yards on the ground. Mekhi Lemon. We came into this game, the coaching staff talking about moving him to defensive back.
Right.
2 catches for 75 yards. Now, Taj Washington's going off 4 for 74, 2 touchdowns. Zachariah Brandt should have had a touchdown, went right through his hands just a little bit ago, ended up going to, I think that was Taj Washington's second touchdown. I mean, maybe we were wrong all along. We did Malachi Nelson transfer portal video talking about here comes Walker Howard. Will Howard. See, now I did it. I messed it up. I said Walker Howard. Here comes Will Howard. Well, now all of a sudden, Will Howard's debating, Ohio State, NFL, maybe USC. maybe it was Miller Moss the whole time. Miller Moss was really the secret here. You said that you've mentioned before that you needed to have him rostered. I don't know that Will Howard's better. And granted, it's a very small sample size. We're getting to see a half of him. I imagine he's going to go out there and have another really good half, but this is going to be really intriguing to see what Lincoln Riley does with this offense. If Will Howard does come in there, do you think he's better than what you've seen out of Miller Moss tonight? Because I don't.
I have no idea. First of all, what has Will Howard done to command all this attention from these blue bloods, USC and Ohio State? That's how you know that some of these coaches are absolutely hurting. I tell you who's won tonight. It's the college football selection committee, because Louisville is out here getting dump trucked, and that was like Florida State's best win. So the college football playoff selection,
LSU. Their best win was LSU.
It was LSU, but at least the ACC championship game they play Louisville and get the victory there. And now this game is going to be more competitive here in the second half. It looks like Louisville just scored, so even though Miller Moss is balling, but still, the college football selection committee won in this one. But what was the question? Will Howard? I have no idea. I have no idea. We need to ask who's Corey Pereira's co-host on
Mike Valerie. Yeah,
Mike.
Will Howard's
yes, Mike. Mike, he's Will Howard's biggest fan. We may need to ask him about Will Howard. If he goes to Ohio State or USC, that's reason enough to have him rostered. I'm not going to lie and act like I have strong feelings about Will Howard, because I don't. But in this bowl game, Louisville and USC, I tell you who I was looking at. It was Deuce Robinson. He dropped a critical third. It wasn't critical because they're up, but he dropped a third down pass. He dropped that long touchdown pass against Washington, and then like in the middle of the second quarter, he was in press coverage and got dump trucked into the sideline by the corner that was guarding him. I thought they were going to call holding on that play. I mean, you can't be 6'5", 215 pounds, getting bullied by Louisville's secondary, Louisville's press corner. You got to be a little bit more physical than that. So that's who's. We're going to talk about players. We're going to take a jump in 2024. Deuce Robinson for me is right up at the top of that list. I know he could have played tight end. He's playing wide receiver. It sucks to see him, one, drop the pass, and two, get out physical by a small corner. So those are my observations. So what is it? What's this game? What is the bowl game that Louisville and USC are playing? Is it no, it's not the military.
DirecTV Holiday Bowl. The Holiday Bowl.
Yeah. That's right. Because DirecTV is trolling
California,
everybody.
Too. Yeah.
That's right. The Holiday Bowl, the DirecTV. We need to have a campus to Canton Bowl game.
Yeah.
That's
maybe.
awesome if that's in the budget.
It won't be, but maybe we can make it happen. Evan Stewart released earlier today confirmed visits for a bunch of schools that I don't think any of us were really talking about. I did a video recently thinking, hey, Texas makes a lot of sense. So does Alabama. All the reports are saying he doesn't want to consider either one of those schools. Florida State, who we talked about recently, I said it would be a great place for him to go, possibly even with Connor Wigman if he were to enter the portal. Ole Miss, Oregon, Tennessee, and the aforementioned USC. Do you see a spot out of those schools that you would really like to go, or really like Evan Stewart to go?
It's not Ole Miss. Ole Miss added Juice Wells and Deion Smith through the transfer portal, and Trey, what's his name, is returning. So it's not Ole Miss. There are two very clear answers here to me. It's either Oregon or Tennessee. Now we're going to see Nico Iamaleava here next week. That offense should be a little bit more vertical and a little more explosive than it was under Joe Milton. Hopefully that offense, that Josh Heupel offense, returns to its Hendon Hooker form with Nico at the helm. So that would be, I've got Evan Stewart rostered in a lot of places. We all knew that he was this, a player on the Garrett Wilson spectrum, but Texas A&M's offense probably wasn't going to feed him the ball like it needed to. If he goes to Tennessee, we're talking like 1,300 yards. You could start him every single week, have him rostered. So that's the obvious one. To me, the other obvious choice is Oregon. And there's the reason for me for Oregon is, one, they bring in Dylan Gabriel and they bring in Dante Moore. But I am just becoming a fan of Dan Lanning because of his youth, because we've seen like defensive head coaches that just get it and know that they need to bring in an innovator on the offensive side of the ball. Those guys seem to have really good track records. Nick Saban, remember, secondary coach, defensive guy. He needs offensive innovation. Goes to Lane Kiffin. Goes to Steve Sarkisian, and they get their offensive rolling. That is what Dan Lanning is, except for Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning got some swag in his take. He got some swag, and going to be in the Big Ten next year. So, I'm trying to think of who Oregon has returning. Is it Trayshawn Holden is going to be returning? Tez Johnson's gone. Troy Franklin is gone. Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant is going to be there in his 5th year. There's a space there for a number 1 primary receiver. Evan Stewart would be great there. And I would love to see my boy, Jerion Dickey, there alongside of him. But to me, it's the programs that are on the upswing. On the upswing as far as who could be, I'm not saying this lightly. If we look up 5 years from now and who has a run like Alabama or Clemson, I think Oregon's right there, and it's because of Dan Lanning. And getting a player like Evan Stewart could ignite the trajectory to get on that path to be one of these dominant programs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Evan Stewart goes to Oregon, automatically the best wide receiver in the Big Ten right off the bat. I mean, and he's going to be, I mean, that's all the guys at Ohio State. I mean, I was going to say Michigan don't have anybody. That's over all the guys at USC going. Washington, like I would love it for Oregon because I do think as well that Will Stein will do a really good job of developing the plays around him, kind of like he did with Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin last year. And Dylan Gabriel is a competent college quarterback. I mean, you mentioned Dan Lanning. We got to give Kirby Smart credit for that too, because he didn't do that at first with Georgia. And then he did start to come around and brought in guys like Todd Monken.
That's a good point.
Back-to-back. And that's where Dan Lanning came from as well. So he's got that background. I love it. I hate that he's going to the Big Ten. I think I said last week, I think that you objectively should have to put them on the same tier as Ohio State and Michigan. I don't think there's a step down to them. I think they deserve to be up there, even though they haven't necessarily done the winning, but neither has Ohio State really that Michigan has had. I just think with what Dan Lanning's done in the recruiting class and the way his teams have been, you have to put him up there. It's going to be a lot of fun to see Oregon go in there. And Evans, that's going to be the guy to watch. I still think
that's going to be fun. It's going to be so fun to watch.
Yep.
Michigan with Alex Orji and probably Benjamin Hall in the backfield trying to run the ball 30 times against Oregon that's going to be a little bit more balanced, probably more explosive, more offensive weapons. It's going to be a clash of styles. The Big Ten is going to be so much more, so fun next year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch those Michigan USC shootouts as well. It's going to end up being like 24-27 because USC can't stop a nosebleed, so Michigan might actually score a lot of points. I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to say something about Evan Stewart. Oh, Florida State. I actually like if Cam Ward goes to Florida State. With what we saw Keon Coleman do there, I actually think Evan Stewart could be really good there as well. I was going to say the best wide receiver in the ACC. He's the best wide receiver. I'm almost positive he's going to be our number 1 wide receiver consensus in our rankings next year. I don't see who would jump him. I think we had Luther Burden ahead of him. I would not put Luther Burden ahead of him right now. I definitely think it's got to be Evan Stewart. I'm really excited to see where he ends up going. We'll see. I believe I mentioned this on the show last night. I think it's the transfer portal. It's not the transfer portal that's closed, but visits are technically closed right now, I believe, until the national championship. So we can't go visit any of these schools officially right now. We have to wait till the end of the national championship for that to happen. So we probably won't find out anything about Evan Stewart till mid-January, right around the time that the portal closes. But it's going to be the name to watch. Felix, there's been a go ahead.
Wait, before you get to that, Matthew, you got to tell the people to like the video.
Yes.
Help us get to 3,000 subscribers. We're a small independent brand, all of that stuff.
I was going to say that for housekeeping. But yes, we're not supported by ESPN, NBC, ABC. Like the video, hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 3,000. And as I said last night, I don't like to get Felix yelling at me. He's really mean behind the scenes. We are so close. It would make our
and in front of the
year.
scenes.
That's true.
Both behind and in front of the scenes.
It would make our year if you guys could get us to 3,000. And you guys have gotten us to where we are now, so I believe in you. You'll be able to get us there. Let's talk about one Marvin Harrison Jr., who has been all the talk the past couple of days because he has not been participating in bowl practice. And then reports came out today that he's a shocker going to enter the NFL draft. Like we've been trying to tell you for the past couple of weeks, don't believe the nonsense you see on Twitter that he's thinking about taking an NIL deal. He's going to the NFL, folks. Does this matter? Like, what are your thoughts on him going? I think it's cool that he's down there. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, JSN, they've all done the same thing. They've gone to the bowl games and done this. Like, it's cool to be with the team. Like, he's not going to play, folks. I know hasn't been officially announced He's not going to risk going out there getting injured in a game against Missouri, which, no offense, means nothing at this point. And ruining, he's a top 3 pick, 2. Could he be the number 1 pick off the board if Chicago decides they don't want to go Caleb Williams? Like, he's not going to go out there and risk it.
Doesn't matter. I mean, we've kind of known what Marvin Harrison was going to do like the last 2 years. He's a solidified top 5 NFL draft pick. No, it doesn't. I think the funny thing is that we're a college fantasy channel, and the NFL dynasty community, when it gets to this time of year, they want to go and talk to us about. They want to bring us on to talk about these players. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not watching Marvin Harrison Jr. anymore. I'm trying to figure out who Jeremiah Smith is and Mekhi Hudson and G.J. Lagway. Who's the wide receiver going to Texas Tech?
Micah Hudson.
Micah Hudson. I call him
Micah. I think it's Micah Hudson.
Is it Micah?
I think that's what Matt said.
That's who I'm like watching now. I'm not watching Drake May and Caleb Boyd. I don't know. Ask somebody else. No, we're trying to download on this freshman class. So doesn't matter. I don't know. I think the interesting question is, and I have an answer here, is who could be the next Marvin Harrison Jr. You mentioned Evan Stewart. When I say that, I mean the guy who's going to be his skill set and pedigree, et cetera, is going to be so dominant that we could just peg them in for a top 5, top 10 NFL draft selection. And that's very rare for the wide receiver position. You see, we had Jamar Chase here recently, Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle was like top 10-ish, if I remember correctly. It was 8 or 9. Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on that. And then, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there. And I'm looking at my rankings to see who could be the next player to command that sort of attention from the NFL, where they take you in the top 5, like Jamar Chase, like a Marvin Harrison Jr. I've got three answers. One is the aforementioned Evan Stewart. I think that he could potentially do it, but I don't see him like being in the top 5. The other would be Zachariah Branch. If he can develop a game away from the line of scrimmage, he's being used very much like Luther Burden was in his first year at Missouri. But here's the other one. Matthew. To me, it's still Jerry. I still love Jerry Dickey. I still love Jerry Dickey at Oregon. And now he just came out, he was quoted as saying that he was not in shape for the season, still recovering from the meniscus injury. I actually had the meniscus injury. You can recover and come back like immediately if you had the meniscus taken out. But if you repair it and keep it in there, the recovery is like a year. Now, we saw him play some snaps early in the season. Didn't get any targets, didn't record any snaps. We haven't really seen him play since, I don't know, like week 7 or so. But, man, when I tell you that this dude could have been a safety or a linebacker or, play another position at the Power 5 level, I mean that. He's one of the more physical wide receivers I've seen, and I know that he is a year 1 0. But, damn it, until I see him on the field, I'm still going to believe in him. And to me, he's on the same spectrum as not DK, but AJ. I think AJ Brown is actually his comparison on 24/7, like that type of wide receiver. And if we can see him on the field, fully healthy, I think Jerrion Dickey is the type of player that could command that draft capital. This is a long shot, given how he didn't play this year, but I would put him right there as a player who could, potentially command top 5 NFL draft capital. It's a crazy thought. Yeah. And I looked at my rankings, Matthew. I'm talking about a player who could go top 5. He's currently my wide receiver 74.
Oh man, he hasn't. What has he taken?
He hasn't played. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah, since I think in week 2, he played a couple snaps back early in the season, then hasn't played since then. I'll give you 3 different names then. How about that? Since you gave us Evan Stewart and them, what about Teteroa McMillan? I mean, he's been absolutely killing it at Arizona. Now he doesn't have quite the athleticism that an Evan Stewart, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jamar Chase has, but I think that he can translate very well to the NFL. Carnell Tate. I think with what he was able to do already as a freshman, he's going to go in there. I think even if Mecca comes back, which it sounds like he's leaning towards, I think there's a chance Carnell Tate's the number 1 in that offense. And so he could end up kind of bolstering that and getting that draft capital in the Jerrion Dickey class. Then I'm going to say a name now. It's going to sound a little bit homerish, but I'm going to, 3 years ago, you go back and look at one of the very first videos published on our channel was a wide receiver ranking summit, where one Felix Sharp and Matt Bruning were mocked and ridiculed by another co-founder, Austin Nace. And I think Colin Decker probably chimed in a little bit as well, because we had one Marvin Harrison Jr. I think we both had him technically top 15, but we always say top 20 because I know for sure he was top 20.
Yeah.
Not ever taking a single step. They haven't even done spring practice yet. We did our ranking summit like January that year. Mocked and ridiculed for that.
For having Marvin Harrison Jr. before he took a snap as a freshman in the top 20 of our rankings. Yes, we were mocked for that.
I think I'm going to have Jeremiah Smith there. And I like
he's number one wide receiver in the class. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. was like a 4-star. Wasn't even a 5-star. It's not crazy to have Jeremiah Smith
that was
in the top 5, top 10
on the service.
We had Zachariah Branch in the top 10 last year. That's not crazy.
That's true. I mean, okay, fine. I'll give you another one. He's going to be in my top 20 as well. And this is a little crazy, although I think he's a 5-star. I'm also going to have Mylan Graham up there. I love Mylan Graham. He's such a good route runner.
So Ohio State is going to have 2 wide receivers taken in the top 5 3 years from now.
Yeah, why not? Who else is in that class besides Mika Hudson? That's it. It's those 3. They're going to be 3 of the top 5 picks. I don't know who the other 2 are going to be. Probably Dylan Raiola and probably DJ Lagway. Who knows? But they're all going top 5. Yeah, I think both those guys are going to be really good. But Teteroa McMillan is a guy that I think could really assert himself again this year. Arizona, I think, is one of those teams that could go in and win the Big 12. I think he's going to get a lot of coverage with what he's been doing the past 2 years at Arizona. He was a guy we were a little bit lower on as a freshman, but has just gone gangbusters with them. KJ Jefferson. The rumors are that he is heading to UCF, kind of pushing your boy. Was it Thomas Castellanos, right? Yeah, when Thomas
my boy has already left UCF.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. He left last year. Was fairly good for Boston College.
He plays next week. Boston College plays next week. I forgot.
They play tomorrow.
I will be
sure.
Oh, they play tomorrow?
Yeah, they play tomorrow.
I will be watching my boy TC. Ware County, Georgia, stand up.
About a year ago, KJ Jefferson was getting all these talks about being this NFL draft guy. I think that those talks have gone away, but I do think we have to care about him for CFF purposes for what Gus Malzahn has been able to do for quarterbacks like KJ Jefferson.
I mean, that's the type. Like, Gus Malzahn is not hiding the fact that he has a type. Like, you have to be like an elite athlete. He doesn't really care if you can pass the ball. Nick Marshall was a safety? Wasn't Nick Marshall a safety? They had him come play corner. Of course, Cam Newton, John Rice Plumlee, Thomas Castellanos is now, balling out for Boston College. He has a type. KJ Jefferson would fit exactly what it is that they need to do. I've never really bought into the KJ Jefferson as an NFL player, especially not like a day 1 or day 2 prospect. He's fine, but I don't think that he's somebody you're going to build a franchise around. But a program like UCF, oh, absolutely, especially in that system. Yeah, give me Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson. I mean, he's going to get 15 touchdowns and goal. He should have that many touchdowns from the goal line. So,
Yeah, especially if he stays healthy, which was kind of the big issue with him last year at Arkansas. I think he has a chance to be a top 10 quarterback. That I don't think that's a reach to say. We'll see.
The news here, Matthew, is that he's not going to South Carolina, because that had been the early indications that he was going to South Carolina. None of us want to see him in a competition with Lenora Sellers. Lenora Sellers should be a better version. By the way, if you don't know who Lenora Sellers is, you better recognize he's like Anthony Richardson with glasses on underneath his helmet. Probably a better passer at this point in his development than Anthony Richardson was the first year in his development. So none of us wanted to see KJ Jefferson go over there to Columbia.
No, none of us wanted to see him sit on the bench like by midseason when Lenora Sellers takes over. So he should be a fun player to watch at UCF. Now we do get, for sure, it seems like at least right now, Lenora Sellers starting for South Carolina. We do some housekeeping really quick. As we mentioned, please hit that like and subscribe button. We are trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. As I mentioned, we don't have Fox, NBC, 24/7 Sports, ESPN, CBS, ABC. None of those people support us. You guys are the support that we have gotten, and we are trying to get to that 3,000 mark. And if you want to get some college gear, I don't have my Home Field stuff on, but every time I do a Texas video, you get to see that beautiful Bevo shirt. Go to Home Field, use the promo code Campus2Canton to get 15% off. They have a ton of great college gear for practically every school you can think of. I still need to get myself that Oregon State Beavers Break the Dam one. I love that shirt. I need to get it. All right, Felix, let's talk about those.
When are you going to pay off your bet?
What bet? What are you talking about?
Don't even try.
I don't know what you're talking
about. When are you
about.
going to pay off your bet?
With Mike Valerie, I need
months.
Mike to tell me what size shirt he wears because
don't try it.
He did.
Matthew Bruning, Mr. Ohio State fan, you lost the bet on Kyle Pitts. You said he was going to have like 1,500 yards receiving as a rookie. You need to sing the Michigan fight song. When is it going to happen? The people want to know. Stop dodging. Are you a man of integrity?
I did it on Better in Sport.
No. Are you a man of? No, you didn't. Are you a man of your word?
No, not at all.
No.
Clearly.
Right, well, at least
kind of obvious. I'll own up to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's talk about the bowl games. So we're going to start with Thursday night. I did not put Boston College on here, but you'll be watching Thomas Castellanos. Miami versus Rutgers. I don't think there's really a ton of players to watch here. Mark Fletcher, he was a player we really did not like out of that freshman class.
I blamed Mark Fletcher.
You did.
What, is he? How do you? Is it Chamadeh Madada? He went to.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, that's fairly close.
Yeah, Chamadeh Madada. Whatever that high school down there is in Florida. I blamed Mark Fletcher because of his lack of physicality at the size that he's playing. I thought that he was even like a potential position switch player. He's been fine as a I mean, they really like him down there. So that might be a big bit miss. But as far as players who could take a jump into 2024 in our rankings and in, perception, based on their play in the bowl game, he's right up there. I guess Ja'Cory is it Emory? No, Emory Williams is out for the season.
Yeah, he's injured. I'm pretty sure all they have left on their roster is Ja'Cory Brown.
Ja'Cory Brown?
Yeah.
He's going to enter the transfer portal after this game because Emory Williams is going to be their quarterback. I mean, it's very clear that Emory Williams is going to be their
It could be Cam Ward. They're in the running for Cam Ward and DJU. Florida State. But then the rumors are DJU will go to Miami. It sounds like they're going to get one of those two guys. I don't even know if Emory Williams will be their quarterback. I thought he played well. He probably should be their quarterback. But it sounds like they're going to go the transfer route.
And I don't know Miami's depth chart after Xavier Restrepo. Oh, Elijah Arroyo is still there. Can we get Elijah Arroyo healthy, the tight end, at least for a season, so we can see this guy who's
transfer portal?
No, he didn't. Wrong. I have not heard Elijah Arroyo.
Let us know in the chat.
One of these tight ends who played detached from the line of scrimmage, played wide receiver in high school, very athletic. He's been so injured there at Miami. I've wanted to see them. No, you're talking about the other. You're talking about the Skinner.
I probably am.
Skinner.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Skinner entered the transfer portal, but I haven't heard Elijah Arroyo enter the transfer portal. I would love to see him healthy for a season playing with either DJ Uiagalelei or Cam Ward. He would probably be their best wide receiver. They lose Colby Young. They lose Xavier Restrepo to the NFL or, to whatever he's going to do next. I don't know.
Was it Jacoby George?
Yeah, Jacoby George. Didn't he enter the transfer portal also? Jacoby George had an excellent season.
Rashard Smith, I think, still there. Outside of that, I honestly don't know who they still have.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But Elijah Arroyo, maybe he's healthy. Hopefully, he'll be healthy going into next season.
Yeah. So next up, Arizona versus Oklahoma, which I think has a chance to be an actually fantastic game. I will be staying up late. Unfortunately, it's like an extremely late kickoff, unfortunately. But all eyes are going to be on Jackson Arnold in this game. Dylan Gabriel, as you mentioned, is out. He's gone to to Oregon. This is Jackson Arnold's chance to step up. First full game as a starter here. It's going to be fun. I think Arizona should be a team that he will be able to beat. Obviously, we'll be able to watch Jonah Coleman, Noah Fafita, Tet McMillan on the other side, but we know those guys. This is our first shot at seeing Jackson Arnold, who I think you could argue has a chance to be at least a top 10 pick and possibly the best quarterback in this class. We have not had a chance to see a lot of these guys play. Arch Manning, Dante Moore. I mean, we'll talk Nico here in a little bit. Who am I forgetting? Why am I forgetting that? Malachi Nelson, who doesn't even have a team. Jackson Arnold could be the guy we're talking about for the next 2 years over all those guys.
We do have Jackson Arnold rated very highly. I'm always trying to provide context because I'm thinking that we either get casual college football fans who don't watch anything other than their team, or we get NFL fantasy folks who aren't familiar with the college player pool. So who is Jackson Arnold? Jackson Arnold is like a 6'1" mobile quarterback. He had a 4.5 GPA. He was a Gatorade National Player of the Year. He really reminds me of Matt Corral without the recklessness or arm strength of Matt Corral. And it's interesting that they do that because Jeff Lebby was the offensive coordinator for Matt Corral. he up until he just took the Mississippi State job, Jeff Levy was the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma and won Jackson Arnold. So it was a great fit there. He's got mobility. He can run the ball. I said his GPA, he's a smart kid. In a highly touted 2023 freshman class, Jackson Arnold is often the guy that was kind of like left out, but he's the one that has a clear job. Well, him and Nico going into 2024. He is the one who has talked about the least. You still be very, very high on him. I think it's that black box effect. We haven't seen him. So we have seen him.
Yeah, he's been on the field, but
he's been on the field. He had that one game where he went 10 for 10 and had like a touchdown to.
Yeah, it was like his first game after. Yeah. But he did not look good after that. He didn't look good in the spring game either. He's been up and down. Now's our first chance to see him starting with the offense and kind of getting the full game, not having Dylan Gabriel come back in.
If we look at that's who Jackson Arnold did in the backfield. You lose a big 2-down grinder in Tawi Walker to the transfer portal. Your 235-pound guy who you're going to use on first and second down. Behind him is your boy healthy. Gavin Sawchuk is healthy.
Gavin Sawchuk's going to be the starter.
The 185-pound sprinter.
He's up to 192 now. Thank you very much, sir. Like let's get it right. 192.
Death Taxes and Matthew Loving, 190-pound running backs. And then I forget who the guy was in the same class who had the excellent freshman season, the running back.
Javante Barnes?
I wish Javante Barnes. Is Javante Barnes healthy? He didn't have the second-year jump. So that's what we're looking for in the backfield. At wide receiver, I don't know. You got Nick Anderson.
Yeah.
Is Antrell Anthony still there, or is he hurt? I don't remember.
You got, Drake Stoops has had, I guess, an up and down season.
Nobody's watching the game to see Drake Stoops.
I know that. I'm just saying.
Nobody's watching the game to see
maybe Jaquazi Petaway is able to do a little something. He was a freshman in that class. Gavin Sawchuk and breaking out in bowl games, baby. That's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Jackson Arnold, we have ranked as QB9. So, we have been very high on him all season long. It'll be fun to watch that game. Like I said, I think it's going to be one of the better bowl games over the next couple days. Going to Friday, Clemson versus Kentucky. I don't even know. Like the skate club,
there's nobody.
End on a high note. He's had a.
Who's the best player? Who's the player in this game that has the potential to be the most fantasy relevant at the NFL level?
Barian Brown, but he has not had a good year either. I should say he hasn't a good year. It's been an okay season.
My answer is Phil Maffa.
Okay, why?
Because he has the requisite size. He's fine in the passing game. That's it. He's going to be a day 3 draft pick. And those running backs taken on day 3, you just never know with them. I think that's my no evidence, just like throwing together an argument there for Phil Maffa.
In fairness, you said he was going to be better than Will Shipley this year, as did Eric Froton, and that did come true. Will Shipley was not good this year. Yeah, for me, I'm probably just watching more for Barian Brown, see if he can end the season.
What about your boy? Is your boy playing?
No, he's already practicing for the
Davis?
Shrine Bowl.
I
think it's the Shrine Bowl game. Yeah. There was a picture of him throwing like a perfect pass earlier today at the whatever practice he's at.
Since we're talking about Kentucky, we should mention the fact that, under Mark Stoops, Kentucky has been a run-heavy program. They get Chip Trainium next year, coming in the transfer portal from Ohio State. You don't remember Chip Trainium, super athletic guy who could have played like linebacker or safety at Arizona State. He was one of these Herman Edwards recruits right there with Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Daniels, Rashad White, the running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a freshman on those teams, 2020. He is going to spend his last year at Kentucky, a team that's going to feed the running back position. So if we're talking about a player who could take a jump in 2024, he's an easy candidate because he's going to have the volume there for Kentucky. Yeah. We compared this to Kenneth Walker going to Michigan State and got laughed at behind the scenes, but I think it's an apt comparison, potentially.
The comparison is fair. I think we were more mocked because I think we said he deserved to be a round 1 draft pick, and everybody said we were crazy. So, that's probably a little bit of a
draft pick, a round 1 supplemental draft pick in a freshman class that doesn't have like a clear, guy at the running back position that you need to take. That was the argument. Yes, and we were laughed at for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. We'll flame some people here. I mean, let's talk about it. There's like 4 wide receivers we really want, no quarterbacks, no running backs. Why is it
I
such
still
a
like
crazy
DJ
take?
Lagway. I like DJ
That's
Lagway.
fine. You take, 4 wide receivers. Say you like Dylan Raiola, DJ Lagway, Julian Sane. That's still 7 picks. Last I checked, there's 12 picks in the first round. When you're going to reach on Jordan Lyles because he's going to Miami? I'm going to get out of here. Taylor Tatum, he's going to be sitting behind Gavin Sawchuk for 2 years. Get out of here.
I mean, I haven't gotten into the freshman class the way you have, but I feel like I was still getting players that I really coveted in the 2nd and 3rd round in last year's class. I mean, like Aiden Childs and Lenora Sellers were 3rd round picks last year. I haven't come across those types of players just yet. Now, by the time March gets here, I probably will. Or Luke Cromanhook, your boy. That was like one of our first, like, oh, wait, this video went viral. Type thing. It was your boy Luke. So anyway, I when we're looking at the first round, Chip Tranum at pick 109, we're getting laughed at for that. Yeah, fine, whatever.
Speaking of Aiden Childs, Oregon State versus Notre Dame. I mean, Jeremiah Love, Jaden Greathouse, I think will be the 2 names you're watching there. See if they can boost that stock up. Jeremiah Love getting a lot of love, literally, for what he's been doing in practice. There's nobody on Oregon State side. Looks like Ben Branson's going to be starting the game.
I forgot.
Well, yeah, but we all know who Damian Martinez is. This is not a guy whose stock's going to raise. His stock's pretty high.
Jack Velling, the tight end Jack Velling is a good player. He'll be on an NFL roster. So, I mean, that's it as far as Oregon State goes. On the Notre Dame side, Mitchell Evans is the tight end who stayed. I think it's Holton Stays who left, who entered the transfer portal. This is another name that I'm going to keep saying. Eli Raridon, if he's healthy, he's now the number 2 tight end, one of the more physical players in his class 2 years ago, dealt with 2 season-ending injuries after his senior year in high school and after his freshman year at Notre Dame. Healthy this year, going to move up the depth chart because Holton Stays entered the transfer portal. One of my favorite players in college football, So just watch out for when you see him make a catch in the bowl game. You say, oh, yeah, that's the guy he was talking about. Hopefully he still has the physicality. See, this thing happened with Terrence Gibbs. Terrence Gibbs, who was a Florida commit, suffered a catastrophic knee injury his junior year. His junior year in high school, I think Florida took away his scholarship. He ended up going to Georgia Southern. Before the injury, Terrence Gibbs, extremely physical player. Didn't see that when he kind of recovered. He was different his senior year. Now we're going to see if Eli Raridon can maintain some of that physicality. So that's a player that I'm watching for in this Notre Dame game.
I'm actually really glad that you started talking about him because that made me go look at something. Sam Hartman skipping the bowl game means we're going to get to see Kenny Minchey, which really? I think is actually a big deal at the quarterback position. He was a quarterback that we really liked in last year's class. It was a little bit lower rated. Probably not starting for Notre Dame next year with Riley Leonard coming over. So maybe he's able to go out there and have a really good bowl game and propel himself into the transfer portal and land somewhere else. Because I wasn't sure if Sam Hartman was. It says he's opted out to start preparing for the 2024 draft. They have nobody else on that roster that I can think of. It's what is his name? Steve. It was another freshman. I think Steve Steve Angeli. Yeah, so we should see Kenny Minchey play. So I will actually be tuning in just for that now. But I was going to say Oregon State, your boy's transferring there. I forgot about that when I did my Gabari Johnson.
Yeah, Giovanni McCoy from Idaho. If you want to just know about Giovanni McCoy, go watch 2 years ago him play against Washington State. So everybody loves Cam Ward now. Everybody loved Cam Ward then too. He was Cam Ward who made the jump up from FCS to FBS, going from Incarnate Ward in Texas to Washington State. Follow his offensive coordinator Eric Morris. I think their first game was against FCS Idaho. Swear to God, this quarterback, Giovanni McCoy, outplayed him in that game. He caught my eye ever since then. I was like, this guy's going to transfer. Didn't transfer last year after his redshirt freshman season. Is transferring this year after his redshirt sophomore season. He's going to Oregon State. Obviously won't be there for the bowl game, but somebody to track, going into the next season. It's kind of, it's different the fact that they don't have Jonathan Smith there to be his offensive coordinator, quarterback guy, but still a player that you should track now that you know a little bit more about him.
I don't know if you know much about this player. I'm gonna be honest, I don't, but I know our team has been raving about him. Memphis versus Iowa State, and that's Abu Sama. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about how well he's played. I haven't paid much attention to him, just being fully honest. Any thoughts on Sama?
I mean, we just like Matt Campbell's. Is it Matt? That's the coach's name.
Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell. Yeah.
We like his history with running backs. So Abu Sama is there, and he's a freshman. I don't know anything about him, and he's a freshman. So, if you liked David Montgomery or Brees Hall, which you should at least pay attention to Abu Sama. Another player who should be considered at the end of the first round, maybe in supplemental drafts, or if Darius Taylor at Minnesota is not rostered, probably somebody that you should be considering. But no, I don't know a lot about him. He's somebody that I need to research to figure out where he should be at in my rankings. I think he's like top 50. So that's, I don't have a lot on Abu Sama. The fact that he's good, he played, but Cartavius Norton entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because this freshman is obviously going to be the guy moving into the future.
Freshman and maybe some betting stuff that might have forced him into the transfer portal.
Cartavius Norton had the betting stuff attached to him too.
I'm pretty sure he was involved in that. I could be wrong.
Another Ware County project. Ware County, Georgia. Ware County coming up a lot today. Ware County stand up.
But hey, you knew more about Sama than I did, so props to you. The big game Friday night that everybody will be tuning into, Ohio State versus Missouri. Not much on Missouri's side, but obviously the big thing, we'll finally get a chance to see Devin Brown full game again against a very good defense, good pass defense in Missouri. They were top 20, and they've got almost everybody going to that game, so it should be a good game for him. Carnell Tate in that number one role with Emeka Egbuka, as Marvin Harrison, I really doubt is going to play. But the big one, at least for some of us, is also going to be Brandon Ennis, and hope that he can get that 40 yards to break that year 1-0 threshold, because we do not want to see him finish his year 1-0. I think he'll be out there, but you got to be worried. Xavier Johnson's playing. Ryan Day seems to love that kid. Like, there's a shot Brandon Ennis doesn't break that, but it should be a good game. Those are probably the big three that we'll be watching. Travion Henderson's going to play too. We know who Henderson is. So
coaches have these players. These guys who have been around the program for like 5 or 6 years. 2 years ago, it was Mike Gundy had one of these guys. I cannot remember his name, but a guy who's just been around the program too damn long, and they clog up the depth chart for the younger players. That's Xavier Johnson for Ryan Day. And he should, to Xavier Johnson's credit, last year when they had problems at the running back position, he made the switch from wide receiver and played running back some of those games there at the end of the season. So, I think all the names that we need to watch at Ohio State are well known. Oh, Kyon Graves, does he get on the field, or is he in the transfer portal, go back to Arizona or play with Jed Fish?
He should have gone into the transfer portal already, but he has yet to do that. He's injured most of the year, too. He was on the injury report.
And what about your boy? We haven't said this name in a long time.
What's that?
G. Scott.
It's going to be a starting tight end in 2024.
Oh, whatever.
He's going to be.
That's who.
They have no one else.
Well, is Cade Stover playing in this game?
I don't think so. He's going off to the draft, So
maybe G. Scott is actually starting this one. That is who Marvin Harrison Jr. reminded me of when I saw him. He reminded me of G. Scott, like this bigger wide receiver who can actually run routes. That's what he reminded me. Again, I haven't said this in a long time. Shame on Ryan Day for what he did to that 2020 freshman wide receiver class. The dude who transferred to Missouri, we haven't heard from him again.
Oh, Mookie Cooper. He's still there. He made like one big play in that Georgia game. I tweeted about it. I was like, hey, there he is.
It was Mookie. It was Julian Fleming.
Yeah.
Mookie Cooper. There's one other player in G. Scott.
It's Marvin Harrison Jr.
No, it wasn't. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the next year.
Was it?
Yeah. It was a fourth guy.
No, it was JSN, because that's who Austin
was. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the one guy who actually turned Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, that was one of our very first episodes where we all took.
I know the show is running long, but do you want to talk about the argument that you and I had about Jackson Smith and Jigba, which was not, it wasn't broadcast. It was one of our meetings. We got into a very heated argument about.
He's having a good year, is he not?
Do you want to revisit this? Do you want to talk about it?
Go ahead. You can tell people. I'll look up his stats real quick. You can tell people what happened.
Okay, so we have something called a tier 0 player. It's basically a generational player. Think, Saquon Barkley, that level of prospect. Matthew made the argument that JSN should be considered a tier 0 player. My position was, and I didn't say it this dispassionately. My position is that a slot wide receiver who you're comparing to Cooper Kupp or Cole Beasley can't be a tier 0 player. Just can't. And I think I was actually proven right on that.
I disagree, and we're going to see why. Or you're going to see here. So he's had a 60% snap share for the Seahawks.
Who brings up snap share when you're talking about?
I'm just reading the stats. That matters. If he's got a 60% snap share, you know what? It's in the past couple weeks, 47 catches for 540 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's first year.
So he's going to. Okay, so Jackson Smith-Njigba with his 500-yard receiving, getting ready to light the NFL on fire, change the game, be a a Hall of Fame level.
Cooper Kupp didn't do it right off the bat either. Got to give him some time. Well, I'm trying to figure out. I can't even find his 137 fantasy points.
And Matthew was shouting at me.
600.
Shouting at me.
I mean, I wasn't shouting first. You shouted, then I shouted. There may have been some curse words.
I'm telling the story my way, the way I remember it.
I feel like Corey and Mike, that was like their first full ranking summit with us. They seemed a little intimidated and scared to chime in. I wasn't the only one who had JSN in tier 0 either, but
yeah. I was in my car. You guys were on the computer, and I was.
No, I was actually on my way to a softball game as well. I think I was. Maybe that was the quarterback one. I don't remember.
Good times.
And in fairness, my definition of year 0 was a little bit different than yours. I feel like I was fair in my argument for putting JSN. There's a player I want to build my team around. I did not view it as a generational talent. I would not say JSN is a generational talent. I will concede that argument. All right. Enough Ohio State talk. Enough of the Friday bowl games. That was the last game on Friday. Saturday, Ole Miss versus Penn State. And we know Singleton and Allard, but I will be watching just to see what they're able to do against a good Ole Miss defense. The big one that I'll be watching is Kedrick Riscano. Will he actually get into this game? Will he do anything? He was a guy that we really liked.
Who is Kedrick Riscano?
He's a running back that if you know who Quinshon Judkins is, a running back that we really liked coming out a couple years ago, we've kind of compared him to that. We think he's the next guy up for Ole Miss. But we did expect him, a thumper running back with a little bit of speed. I'm pretty sure he's a decent receiver. I honestly don't remember right now. We thought that he could be that guy behind Quinshon this year. Ulysses Bentley kind of stepped up and really took over for that role. I would like to see Riscano get into this game again, especially against a really good Penn State defense. He'll be the only player really on Ole Miss I'm watching. I can't think of anybody else worth mentioning there. I mean, I'm hesitant to mention these next two guys in this game because I feel like this game is going to be horrible. But Georgia versus Florida State. I mean, Tate Rodemaker.
Wait, I didn't get to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Penn State and Ole Miss. Jeez, you're just going to skip over me. Okay. I want to see who's going to be filling in for. I didn't realize Theo Johnson, the tight end, the athletic tight end from the Detroit area. If you know, you know. He's declared for the NFL draft. I don't think that he's actually playing in this game. When we talk about Theo Johnson, he already had like 99th percentile athleticism. I would expect for him to go to the NFL Combine and maybe have improved on those numbers. I remember when Mike Gesicki went to the Combine. Everybody was like, Mike Gesicki? Yeah. You could have that type of Theo Johnson when he goes and puts up 99th percentile numbers. But I want to see who it is that's going to be filling in for him. It looks like Ty Warren. Ty Warren was actually third on the team in receptions. But there's also a freshman named Andrew Rapplier, who it looks like hasn't actually played this year. I want to see if he gets into this game, a freshman tight end. But Penn State has a freshman tight end coming in next year that everybody's like, I don't have his name in front of me, but Penn State has a freshman that everybody likes coming into next year's class. The reason why I want to see how these tight ends develop is because when I look at Penn State's wide receiver core, they got Keandre Lambert-Smith, and that's about it. They don't have anybody coming in the transfer portal. They don't have a freshman of note coming into that team. So if you look at Drew Aller's development going into 2024, it's going to rely on Keandre Lambert-Smith and some development from these tight ends, unless something happens, kind of like when Jamison Williams went to Alabama after the spring game. Unless Penn State gets some player like that, which is definitely possible. I don't see where the targets are going to go. The guy that's going to help Drew Aller develop his confidence, develop his rhythm. So I'm always looking at the pass catchers for Penn State.
Speaking of pass catchers, probably the only two players, at least I'll be watching in that Georgia-Florida State game, with Keon Coleman opting out, and I believe Johnny Wilson is also opted out of that game. It's going to be a bloodbath. That Georgia's going to murder Florida State.
If they come within 7 points, Mike Norvell deserves, some sort of I don't know, appreciation post, because everybody's opted out of that game. In fairness to them, the college football selection committee said that your games didn't matter. So why should they care about this exhibition game, this bowl game?
And I'll put it, Mike Norvell deserves a raise if they score more than 7 points, because Georgia's, I'm pretty sure, playing most of everybody except for the guys that went into the transfer portal. So, I mean, they're bringing their full team. Florida State lost their starting quarterback, their wide receivers, a bunch of the defense. I think it's not going to be pretty. Brock Glenn, the true freshman, is getting the start, who we saw in the championship game. But will we get to see anything from Vandrevius Jacobs and Hakeem Williams? Hakeem Williams is going to finish as a year 1-0. I don't think there's any shot he breaks any of those thresholds. But I think
he's got to be close, because he had the one long touchdown, and yardage is one of the things.
Vandrevius Jacobs, I know, is close. I think he's like 50 or 60 yards away. So I think he's one that could. Maybe Hakeem Williams can. I don't know. I was going to pull it up.
If Hakeem Williams has a good game, go as fast as you can. Just trade him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, those two will be the guys that will be watching. Georgia, all those guys. Wisconsin, LSU. We already know who Garrett Nussmeier is, but this will be his chance to kind of shine here for LSU against Wisconsin. Jaden Daniels opting out. Will we get to see much of Shelton Sampson Jr.? I believe Malik Neighbors has opted out. I think Brian Thomas has. I haven't seen if that's official yet. So Shelton Sampson Jr. should get a shot to start. We should get to see isn't it your boy Cade? I forgot how to say his name. The running back, Cade Yakimelli.
Cade Yakimelli for Wisconsin. Yeah. I have no idea. Cade Yakimelli, a guy who played wide receiver and running back, looks like he's playing running back at Wisconsin. Wisconsin feels like a potential transfer destination for a running back. A guy like Chip Trainium, could have gone to, or Tyree Walker.
Yeah,
Tyree Walker from Oklahoma.
He visited Wisconsin.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, that's what Nate told us. He visited when we talked about Chip going there. Nate chimed in the next day in our chat saying that Tyree Walker had visited Wisconsin that day we did the show.
That would be a perfect fit. But you know who's really high on Ches Malusi is Matt Waldman. Matt Waldman really loves some Ches Malusi. So take that for what it's worth. Ches Malusi going to have another year there next year. Caleb Jackson for LSU. We're always paying attention to him, given his athleticism. This week has really been hey, I have some of these backup quarterbacks rostered. Malik Murphy, who didn't play this week, but Malik Murphy, Connor Harrell, Garrett Nussmeier, those guys. And we're really getting to see, what they're going to look like going into 2024. Garrett Nussmeier, if you like quarterbacks who throw the ball deep and are aggressive downfield, that's him. Now, I know that A.J. Swan is going there. It's going to be Garrett Nussmeier. Going into 2024, it's going to be Garrett Nussmeier's job. It should be. A.J. Swan should just provide some depth. But that offense has the ability. Now, Garrett Nussmeier can't take Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. with him into next season. Still a good quarterback. I have no idea what's going to be behind those two wide receivers, but I love Matthew. Carson Strong was this type of player. Carson Beck is this type of player. Pocket passers. Michael Penix Jr. This type of player. Pocket passers who are unafraid to throw the ball downfield. That's Garrett Nussmeier. And people forget this, but last year or 2 years ago, people were saying the LSU should run a dual quarterback system, run Jaden Daniels on, the stuff involving the running game, and it involved Garrett Nussmeier on the passing game because he was thought of as that much better of a passer. So don't sleep on Garrett Nussmeier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think LSU has a still pretty good wide receiver. And the big question will be who's going to be the offensive coordinator, because his name is escaping me now. Just went back to Notre Dame. Where he followed Mike Denbrock. He followed Chip Kelly to LSU, has been running a fairly good offense over the past years, but they have Aaron Anderson, Kyron Lacey, who's the other who transferred in, Shelton Sampson, the freshman. There's someone else I'm forgetting that I know transferred in as well. Now I can't for the life of me remember who it is, but they have some weapons there. We'll see what happens. Garrett Nussmeier, I think that offense is going to be completely different next year anyways, but they'll be relying heavily on, he'll be a sophomore running back, Caleb Jackson, who you mentioned earlier. He'll be a really good running back. 2 more games.
Caleb Jackson is a freshman, isn't he?
Yeah. He'll be sophomore. Yeah, he'll be a sophomore next year.
You mean next year? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 2 more games. Now, this one's a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think Liberty's going to be able to keep up with Oregon. So does Bo Nix play the whole game? I don't think so. I think we're going to get a chance to see Austin Novosad. Maybe it'll boost his stock a little bit to allow him to transfer out because he's not beating out Dante Moore for that job once Dylan Gabriel leaves for the NFL after this year with Oregon. So maybe Austin Novosad's able to get in there a little bit and do something. Obviously, you talked a lot about at the beginning of the show, Jerrion Dickey. I believe Troy Franklin's already opted out. I think Tez Johnson's playing, but I don't imagine. Aaron Anderson, thank you, Barnabas. That's who I was trying to remember. Aaron Anderson transferred to LSU. I don't know that Tez Johnson and Bo Nix play the whole game. So do we get a chance to see Jerrion Dickey get out on the field and do something? Those will be the 2 guys we're watching in that Oregon Liberty game. And then the big one. We got the news earlier today, Tennessee versus Iowa.
Are you trying to end the show? Do I not get to talk about it?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about Austin Novosad? You talked like 10 minutes at the beginning of the show about Jerrion Dickey. I assume you don't have anything to say about Austin Novosad.
I don't have anything left to say about Jerrion Dickey other than the fact that he's a fabulous football player who reminds me very much of Braylon Edwards coming out of high school. Braylon Edwards, who also played like defensive end and linebacker and safety and all that stuff. That's what Jerrion Dickey reminds me of. Tez Johnson. Small but mighty football player. Love me some Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson is going to be the guy that, you should take in like the 3rd round of your dynasty rookie drafts. That's all I got to say. And Austin Novosad is putting an audition tape together so he can go back to Baylor or go back to wherever Jeff Collins went to Kansas, right? Or Jeff Grimes, excuse me. Jeff Grimes. Well, he was committed to Baylor.
Yes, he was.
He was committed to Baylor, and it was the quarterback's coach at Baylor who was responsible for his recruitment. I can't remember that quarterback's coach's name off the top of my head, but he is now at Houston. So if Austin Novosad transfers, I would pick where Jeff Grimes went, the offensive coordinator who was at Baylor when he committed, was now at Kansas, and then the quarterback's coach whose name escapes my head, who's now at Houston. That's where he could land.
Yeah, maybe. I hope not Baylor because Daquan Finn's going to be the starter there.
No.
I'm saying like because he flips from Baylor.
The guys who are at Baylor who he committed to, they have now left. One is at Houston. One is at Kansas.
But Dave Aranda's still at Baylor, and he was
Dave Aranda's a defensive head coach. He wasn't going to Baylor because of Dave Aranda.
I talked to him. I'm just letting you know, like we had a conversation. Just like Aiden Childs.
You did talk to him, and you were very high on him, like before anybody else.
I was. He's a big.
I will not give you credit for that.
Elite 11. All right. So Caleb Johnson, we already know Iowa, the only player to watch on Iowa probably, but Nico is going to get the start for Tennessee. Fairly highly rated quarterback. We have him as QB 10 right now in our rankings, just behind Jackson Arnold. I looked at that when I was looking up Jackson Arnold earlier. He's going to get the start, and against a good Iowa defense. So he's kind of getting thrown to the wolves a little bit here in this matchup. Going to be a great game to watch Saturday night. I will be tuned in to see what he does. What are your thoughts on Nico? I mean, he has the chance to really kind of bolster himself. I mean, Malachi Nelson's got to drop behind him. I don't care where he goes because all the teams we've seen are G5, where I haven't even seen him really. Well, Houston was technically a P5 school. Arch ain't starting. Dante Moore is not starting. Like Nico and Jackson Arnold, who both will be playing this in the next couple of days, have a chance to jump. I think those guys in the rankings and be possibly even top 5 quarterbacks. The quarterback rankings outside of Connor Wigman, I think, and Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck is shaky. Like those are probably your top 3 guys, are they not? That's kind of scary to say that.
Quinn Ewers is, if you've watched this show for any length of time, Quinn Ewers is not in my top 3. Are you out of your damn mind? But no, I mean, I don't know what else needs to be said about Nico Iamaleava. He's the first player to get, a really noticeable NIL contract. By the way, that's another reason why Evan Stewart could end up at Tennessee is the fact that they have some NIL money to pay him. But yeah, I mean, we love Josh Heupel's system. I want to see if this offense looks like, what it did under Hendon Hooker with Hendon Hooker under center. Now we still like Squirrel White, a guy who can get vertical. I'm struggling to figure out remember the other player, the wide receivers there. But Dylan Wright is declared for the NFL draft, if I remember correctly. They still got Cam Seldon, there in the backfield who got virtually, nothing this year. Cam Seldon, extremely athletic wide receiver who converted to running back there at Tennessee. You're talking about like 6'1", 220 pounds, over 22 miles per hour as a high schooler, very athletic player. So we still want to see him. So we want Josh Heupel's offense to look like Josh Heupel's offense, and we think that Nico Iamaleava could be the player to unlock it. Now it's going to be tough to do against Iowa, but if I remember correctly, like Cooper DeJean, it was out for the year if I remember. Yeah. So he's not going to play at this game. Iowa's defense is still Iowa, but it's a good first test. But he would have had a month to prepare for it.
Yeah. I mean, Dante Thornton, Brew McCoy, I believe, are still there. I don't think either one of them opted out. It's the only other ones I can think of for the wide receivers for Tennessee. I don't think Caleb Webb's done anything. I believe Jalen Wright has already declared for the NFL, the running back. So maybe we do get to see a little bit of Cam Seldon. They still have
Jalen.
Jalen Wright. I think they still have Jabari Small. I think he's playing in the game. So maybe we get to see a little bit of Cam Seldon. He'll be another player to watch, but obviously all eyes will be on Nico. What else you got? Is that it? Ready to close the show out?
Okay. Are there no other games we're going to talk about?
Do you have any New Year's? Texas, Washington. The only games left is Texas, Washington, Alabama.
Yeah, but we're going to have another show before those games are. Oh, no, we're not.
No, I'll be doing a live show tomorrow.
I can do a live show on Sunday. I can't do it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Let's do it on Sunday then. The games are on Monday because Sunday's NFL.
We have to do a show on Sunday because I'm gonna want to talk about it.
Let's just workshop this live. I was gonna suggest we try to do a watch along Texas Washington because that's like a massive game between you and me. You, Michael Penix, me, Quinn Ewers. Like that's a showstopper right there. But it's late.
You and it is. It starts at 9:00.
It's ridiculous. We have to go to work on Tuesday.
Oh, it's on Monday?
It's on Monday, yeah. They don't have any college games on Sunday because of the NFL. I know. It's ridiculous.
So it's a 9 p.m. start
Eastern,
on Monday.
Yeah.
And we got to get up and go to work on Tuesday. I actually want to watch that game, so I don't want to do a watch along for that game. Like I actually want to watch it. And this is what I was going to say. You in Austin.
Sure.
In Austin love to tout the highest rated players at their positions. And I'm sitting here fighting for guys shooting from deep with Michael Penix Jr., who nobody was talking about when he was at Indiana, or Anthony Richardson, or Jamison Williams, or Ramondre
Richardson was a top player as well.
I'm going against you guys touting Bijan Robinson and Arch Manning and Caleb Williams, the number one players at their position. You know what?
Tout Caleb Williams either.
On some of these.
I said Jackson Dart was better than Caleb Williams. And thank you, Ray's dad, who came in and defended me on that in the comments. Thank you, Ray's dad. Jackson Dart, amazing season, better than Caleb Williams. Hey, look, only one of us has the nickname 5-Star Felix, and it's not me or Austin. So I don't know.
I don't. You don't ever hear me on there talking about 5-star because there's no I can't.
It's not what the people say.
Everybody's already going to take those plays.
That's not what the people say. The people are all that matters.
Ladd McConkey, those are my types of players. Get mocked and ridiculed for talking about how good Ladd McConkey is. Carson Beck, those are my types of players.
Third round draft capital. Yeah. Third day draft capital. I'm sorry.
We'll figure it out. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was a top 3 wide receiver in his class.
He was good too. He was good. Stupid injuries. We'll have a Campus of Canton live show tomorrow. Well, I'll talk a little bit about those games, and we'll figure something out. We'll do some kind of show Sunday or maybe Monday morning to preview those games. I don't know if you're off work. Maybe we can do something Monday morning to preview Alabama, Michigan, and Texas, Washington. We will let you guys know. That is it, though, for Devy Debate. That is Felix Sharp. I'm Matt Bruning. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We just had to talk. Yeah, sorry, that way. Had to talk Quinn Ewers and Ladd McConkey is apparently more important than you, Kirk. I apologize, but we'll catch you guys again either Sunday, Monday, but we'll definitely catch you guys next week.